Revenge by Jason Dwayne Cockerham. This book is for audiences 13 and up.
Chapter 4 The Loss of a Son / Cousin.
Melina here. I am one of the many wolves that live in this forest. Wolfenstein and Antonio are my cousins. My mother's sister's children. My power is fire, walking the line between being pretty and being dangerous. My fur is as black as night and as pretty as a pearl. I have no job that I can speak of, and yet I never accept money from the family. So a couple of the family members think I make money through illegal means. Mostly, I walk around town just hanging out, being a little nosy. One fateful day, Antonio, covered in dirt and having a couple deep scratches, came to me. A faint smell of acid and a strong smell of something I don't know, along with the smells of earth, blood, and drenched wolf, followed him. He had a crazy, hate-filled look in his eyes. "Wolfenstein's dead. Claw killed him." "What? Why? What happened?" "We went to his cave to get him back for last night." "What happened last night?" "The bastard broke Wolfenstein's leg. We were there at the bar trying to get some money when Claw and the bouncer stopped us." "So you went for payback this morning?" "We had him. We were just about to finish him when he brought the whole damn cave down. I used my acid to dig a hole and a way out. Wolfenstein wasn't so lucky." "Did Claw survive?" "Don't know. I doubt it." Antonio stayed at my house for a while. Then sometime later he caught sight of the sheriff coming to the door, so he slipped out the back. After talking to the sheriff, I went to make sure Auntie Wolfster, Antonio and Wolfenstein's mother, knew. By the time I got to her house, she had already been crying. "I don't know if anybody's told you, but Wolfenstein's dead. Killed by Claw," my auntie sobbed. Antonio told me. "I'm so sorry," I replied. "The sheriff's not going to arrest Claw because it was self-defense." "Claw's alive?" "Yes, he survived." After a minute, my aunt, shaking, added, "Just as well. He will die from my paw. You and the rest of the pack stay away from him. He's mine, alone." "Yes, Auntie." Later that evening, I walked around the hospital, looking in the windows from a distance, searching for Claw. I figured he'd be here since Antonio hadn't thought he was even alive. When I found him, he and his two friends were playing cards in his hospital room. It was dark outside and light in the room, so they didn't see me. I stood there watching for a while as they played. I was angry that he had killed my cousin, that Antonio and Wolfenstein were no better. After all, to hear Antonio tell it, they were about to kill him. As I continued watching, I was hoping my auntie would not show up. If she had, would I have helped her kill Claw? Or would I have tried to talk her down, at least until he got out of the hospital? Honestly, I didn't want to find out, because either option comes with its own bad consequences. Jail time, or a bad taste in my mouth. My auntie did not show up that night. Neither did anybody else from the pack. Eventually, I left, curious about other things. The funeral was a couple days later. Auntie cried in a way that I had never seen before. From all the sobbing, I would guess that there was not a dry eye in the pack. Auntie started the customary howl that accompanied such events, but lost the howl in her crying. So my mom picked it up. Then everyone else joined in, the mournful cry going out into the daylight. As the moon rose, there was plenty of story sharing, plenty of sobbing, and plenty of mournful howling. The next morning, I saw Claw eating a late breakfast. I walked up to him and said, "All the wolves want to kill you. They're not supposed to, as someone has called you. But you might want to watch your back. Does all the wolves include you?" "I've thought about it. Maybe I will try to kill you. Maybe I won't." I walked away as he watched warily. The tornado came through the town, and the next day, all of us in the pack put our energy towards helping to clean up. I was beginning to think that Auntie wasn't going to try to kill Claw. Claw here. My eyes are half open. I'm not fully awake yet, but I am becoming more aware. I see Wolfenstein standing in my cave. He says,
"Do you feel guilty, old friend?"
I blink, and the apparition is gone. I then drift off and remember something that happened years ago.
"Oh, come on. It's perfect. You can get us the good stuff. And you wouldn't even be suspicious, 'cause your dad works there,"
Wolfenstein said, trying to convince me to steal medications from the hospital. No, that stuff's for the patients who need it. Besides that, if my dad finds out, it'll be worse than if the police catch us.
"That's why we make sure we don't get caught."
I turn over, and another memory plays in my head. Wolfenstein came over one evening and told me,
"I've got some stuff to sell. You help sell it? I'll give you a cut of the cash and the goods."
I knew what goods he wanted to sell, so I said, "I don't need money that bad, man. If they catch you, you'll go to jail."
"Not if you don't snitch."
"Man, I won't." "You should consider quitting, though, so you don't get in trouble." The truth is, he was already in trouble. Maybe I should have grabbed him by the throat and yelled at him, "Stop this!" Sometimes I wish I had. Not like he would have listened, though. He would have just withdrawn from me the way he withdrew from everybody else except his brother, who is too busy egging him on and doing the same drugs. Makes me think of their first high. They offered some to me and Nina. We said no. They went ahead and got high. After we all graduated from school, there was no longer any huge commitment, so they just kept getting high. Over time, they tried harder drugs for better highs. Eventually, they started stealing the cash they needed for the drugs. My mind then flashes to the other day. They were going to kill me, so I don't regret what I did, bringing down the cave. But I do wish that things would have turned out differently. Why did it have to end up like that? Was there nothing I could have done to prevent it? That afternoon, Ella and Nina come over. "Hey, Claw, we were thinking we would take the day off from tornado cleanup and maybe go dirt sliding. You up for it?" Ella asks. "Sure, I could use some fun. We've been helping clean up from the tornado for a couple weeks." We head downstream until the banks turn steep and tall. We then climb up one of the banks using small trees, roots, and the exposed sheets of rock. When we make it to the top, we look at the top of the opposite bank. Then my eyes go down to the river below. My eyes follow the river downstream as far as I can see. Then I look upstream. I look at the girls. Nina is looking above the opposite bank at the clouds. Ella is looking down towards the river, smiling. "I'll slide first," Ella declares. She then picks a line free of trees, roots, and rocks and slides down the dirt slope, yelling in excitement. The looster at the bottom of the bank slows her to a stop. Next, she steps to the side a few steps and Nina slides down. I slide down last. We climb back up and slide down again and again until we're tired. Then we relax in the cold, shallow water. After a long time, we start walking back. In no hurry, we take time for looking at the small pools of water along the edge of the river. Sometimes, Ella jumps from rock to rock out to the middle of the river, then back to shore. Nina follows her, and I follow Nina. Other times, we stop to kick pebbles around. We wind up back outside my cave at sunset. We say our goodbyes, I walk into the cave, and the two of them head off. Wolfenstein appears in the middle of the hangout area of the cave. This morning, I had thought his appearance was due to being half asleep, and maybe I feel a bit guilty. But this time, I'm wide awake. Suddenly, his body flattens, spurting blood throughout the cave.
"This is what you did to me,"
he says. Blood seeps from his eyes and snout, and his jaw is unhinged.
"You crushed me."
I closed my eyes and angled my head down.
"Why did it have to end like that?"
he asks. "You and Antonio were going to kill me, weren't you? I was desperate to save my own life. What was your excuse?"
"Desperation. And I suppose you had no other choice, then. Was there really no other way?"
There were plenty of other ways for things to go. Had you quit the drugs, you might not have been stealing money from the nightclub, and I wouldn't have had to help stop you. And you wouldn't have... Or you could have let it go, not come after me that morning. Even that morning, after roughing me up a bit, you could have walked away, not threatened me, my life.
You brought the cave down on us. You telling me that wasn't your decision?
One of two lousy choices. The other one was let myself die. I hate the way it turned out, but I won't apologize for wanting to live. Before that day, I should have grabbed you by the throat and made you stop. We should have had that fight earlier, without your brother involved. Wolfenstein glares at me for a long second.
"You're going to have to die today."
He fired his claws, wounding me. I used my power to throw a rock at him, but it went right through him. What? Whose power is this? Nina's power can't hurt, so it can't be hers. Ah! I yelled out in pain as lightning came down from the roof of the cave and started shocking me continuously. After a few seconds of being zapped, I felt like I was burning. "Claw, you okay?" I heard Nina yell from outside the cave. It's Mrs. Wolfster! She's outside your cave! Mrs. Wolfster, the mother of Antonio and Wolfenstein, has the power to make you see or hear anything she chooses, as I recall from the time we asked her to show us her power when we were kids. Apparently, she can make you feel it as well, including the pain. I hear Mrs. Wolfster from outside. You killed my son, so you will die today. Then she apparently tells Nina and Ella, you two should walk away. I'm not gonna let you kill one of my friends, Ella shouts. I rush towards the entrance of the cave, but get zapped. The pain drops me before I make it outside. Stop it, please, Ella screams. He killed my son. I get shocked again and cry out. Ella here. Nina tries to push Mrs. Wolfster back away from the cave, but she circles around. Nina explained to me when we first saw her that her power has a range of 50 meters. I hear Claw scream again. I rush at her. Then I pull her into a hug. What are you doing? She says as she pulls out of the hug. Let it go. Let it all go. Me and a friend of mine lost someone. I watched her being consumed by sadness for a year. I tried, but I was unable to help her, and the sadness almost consumed me too. That's how I know you're exactly where we were. Looking at you is like looking at her back then. Just how am I supposed to do that? To let it go? Cry. Let all the pain out in your tears. And when the pain is overwhelming again, cry again. Go to someone who loves you and cry on their shoulder. If you don't have anybody, come to me. She looks into my eyes for a long second. Claw crawls out of the cave. With a yell, she uses her power and Claw screams. I realize that she's using her power on me and Nina as well to let us see what's happening to Claw. A bolt of electricity is coming out of the cave mouth into Claw. No! Me and Nina yell. Claw's screams weaken, and I lunge at Mrs. Wolfster, unsure for a heartbeat of what I'm going to do. Mrs. Wolfster stops her hallucination. I freeze, my paws an inch away from Mrs. Wolfster's neck, claws gnawed out. She breaks down crying. I hug her, tearing up myself. After a long while, as the tears stop flowing, Mrs. Wolfster asks Claw, why couldn't you save him? Why couldn't I? I don't know, Claw responds. I'm sorry. Melina here. I am walking in front of Claw's place when I see my auntie crying. A bobcat is comforting her. Claw is down. What's going on here? Claw here. I struggle to my feet, eyeing Melina warily. This could be bad if she wants to fight. Nothing. It's over, except for the crying. Mrs. Wolfster replies, go home. Melina here. Alright. Auntie clearly doesn't want my help, and Claw looks worried that I might attack him. I think the fox has the same fear that Claw does. The bobcat. Is that sadness I see in her eyes? I walk away. Claw here. After a long while, Mrs. Wolfster starts to leave. She pauses. I will expect the sheriff sometime later. You can tell him I'm not going to resist, or try to lie or get out of it. I'm not reporting anything to the sheriff. She looks at me a long while, as if trying to see the answer as to why. Then she says, "Thank you," turns around, and walks away. I mentioned to Ella and Nina, I thought earlier that you guys had left.
We were walking and having a conversation when I spotted Mrs. Wolfster hiding in the bushes near the cave entrance. We decided to hide behind something. Then we heard you scream. In the meantime, I filled in Ella as to what her power is.
Nina explains. Thank you.
Don't mention it,
Ella responds. Nina then asks,
Are you sure it's a good idea to let her off like that?
She's hurting enough. Besides that, maybe I got off too light.
She hurt you, so it's your call.
From her look, I guess she disagrees with me. Melina here. Later that evening, I dropped by Auntie's place. Are you okay? I'm thinking back to every mistake I ever made as a parent, trying to piece together why it happened. In the end, the result is the same, though. I didn't know what to say, so I just put my paw on her shoulder. I'm not going to kill Claw. I don't want anyone else to die. Speaking of which, thank you. I give her a questioning look. For leaving earlier. We didn't need another fight to break out. I nodded. That night, I'm thinking about everything. I have mixed feelings of anger and frustration and understanding. I then make a decision to settle certain things that night. I first find Antonio. I want the good stuff. I need it. Where do you get it? I'll show you, he said after a minute. He had never agreed to tell or show me before. Antonio is actually showing me who gives him the drugs. I tell someone telepathically. Antonio leads me to a secluded spot in the forest where there are plenty of big boulders to hide behind. We stop. This is the spot where we'll exchange the money for the merchandise. How do they know we're here? He just knows. We are meeting the guy here. He probably has some kind of sensing power, I say telepathically. We waited in the darkness for quite a while. Finally, a monkey with sunglasses walks up. He's carrying a bag. Antonio greets him. What's up? How's it going?
Yo, Antonio. Just been chillin'. You?
Same. This is my cousin, Melina. She needed some support to get her through these tough times.
Yeah, I'm sorry about Wolfenstein. He was a good customer.
Good cousin, too, I say. A monkey wearing sunglasses, I think. I take out some money and hand it to the monkey. He digs in his bag and pulls out some drugs and hands them to me.
Normally, I wouldn't give you this much for the cash you gave me, but since your cousin's with Antonio here, and considering the recent tragedy, I'm giving you a discount.
Thanks. The exchange is done, I think. Suddenly, the sheriff and his deputies surround us. The monkey runs, and I chase after him. I jump in front of him and raise a wall of fire. They can arrest you, or I can take you to hell.
What the?
The monkey exclaims as he tries to change direction. I folded the wall of fire in towards him. Suddenly I was tackled. The fire dissipated, sparing the monkey, but still showering him with embers and singeing his fur. The coyote who tackled me rests a paw on me, letting me know to stay down. I surrender, I tell him. He happens to be the same one I've been in telepathic contact with. His power is that he's able to open a telepathic link between him and another, allowing for two-way communication until he closes the link.
I didn't hurt you, did I?
He asks telepathically. I'm not yelping in pain, I think. I hear the monkey surrender. I also hear running, then the sound of acid, so I think Antonio is trying to escape. Is Antonio fighting? I hear a flop.
Don't worry, no one got hurt. They were able to avoid his acid. Then Zai jumped on him from a branch above him.
Zai is a squirrel with the power to put an animal to sleep by grabbing their tail. So he's out?
Yeah, he's asleep.
E here. I am working on the code for my robots. I originally had 4 targets: Antonio, Wolfenstein, Claw, and Nina. With the recent news of Wolfenstein's death, I now have 3. I think back to the days I was in school. Whenever we were in class, Wolfenstein, Antonio, and Claw whispered quietly enough so that the teacher did not hear, but I heard them just fine. Fuzzball.
Long ear.
Shorty.
I usually tried to ignore them, but by the end of class I was often wearing a glare on my face towards them. In gym class, one of the 3 would run up and push me whenever they could get away with it when the teacher was busy with something else. Every school day, they would take pleasure in making my life hell, so Wolfenstein can rot there in hell for all I care. The others will join him soon. They can keep him company, and it'll be my turn to laugh at their pain. But first things first, I have to finish adjusting this code.
Melina here. I'm in an interrogation room with the sheriff and Officer Flufftail, the coyote I was in telepathic contact with. After I report everything, from Antonio agreeing to show me where he got the drugs, the sheriff asks,
Why did you use your firepower?
I wanted to stop the monkey from getting away.
You should have let someone else do that. You could have blown your cover.
Sorry, I say, looking down.
And you shouldn't have threatened him.
He gives me a long look.
You let your emotions get the better of you.
I'm sorry. It won't happen again.
Take a week off. We'll try to assess how much Antonio and the monkey know and suspect about you. We'll discuss it in a week.
Understood, sir.
That is all for now.
Yes, sir. That is when I realize I have a burn from when I made the wall of fire.
In the next chapter, I'm not staying where I'm not wanted.
What are you talking about?
Coming in March 2023.
More from this author.
3 stories to enjoy over a campfire. The Eclipse is about a person who experiences a certain type of eclipse during a video game session with a friend. As he slips into darkness, his fear grows. But should he be afraid of the darkness or himself? Available on Amazon as an ebook or in various stores as an audiobook. The Dog's Nightmare Goblin starts with a man and his dog going to sleep. The dog walks into the man's room to be petted before going to sleep. The next time the dog comes into the room, He bites his owner. Why is the dog suddenly attacking his owner? Or is he? This story is in various stores as an ebook or audiobook. In the Fiery Ghost Hound / Chase. A man is terrified when a hellish hound attacks him in his own home. I was not attacking him. I was playing. He was playing too. This book is available in various stores in ebook and audiobook. All 3 of these stories are by the same author, Jason Dwayne Cockerham.